Hey everybody, welcome to the live web show. It is 5/11. We're trucking on through May. Got a whole bunch of stuff going on today. I mean, listen, the Knights Codex is out. People are starting to want to play with them. It's pretty awesome. Cannot argue with that. Today, it kind of occurred to me, like, how neat would it be if Fantasy Flight actually made a Battlefleet Gothic Armada game? Why couldn't they do that? There's got to be some clause in there for the licensing. How awesome is that? I played some more Armada, Star Wars Armada, over the weekend, and I'm continually impressed with this game. You know, even just playing with the core set, basically going through the same core set over and over again. I'm still finding replayability and enjoyment with it. And we just put out a kick-ass podcast. We had James Swallow on the show for a good extended period of time. And
that was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, great guy. A real fan of 40K. I was impressed with his knowledge beyond just researching the things that he writes about.
Well, it shows in his work, too. He's really passionate about what he does. So, it definitely shows.
Yeah, it was a great guy to talk to. I hope we are fortunate enough to have him on again sometime soon.
Yeah. Like he said, he's coming out with some new stuff, so when that comes out, we can take a look at it, see if we can get him back on.
Yeah, we also started kind of putting out there in the 40K sphere about some type of new organized play for 40K. I think that we're getting there, where a necessity for it. Now, what that ends up being, I don't know. Like, I, for one, don't want to ever see a detachment limit, but there may be some revisions that need to be made to the battle-forged armies. We're getting some feedback maybe from you, Chris. I don't know if that's.
Let me see if I can unmute it.
Yeah, it went away, definitely. And try what you can. I don't know. We'll see. We'll press on, obviously, like we do. Want to say what's up to everybody. Keegan coming in, very first thing with Blood for the Blood God. Big Corn fan myself. Ed Black, good to see you. Void Wraith, Robert, Troy, Lou, awesome. Sean, Lamont. Guys, thanks for joining in tonight. I know as we get towards the summer, people want to be outside more with the longer days, and everything else is going to get tough. But y'all hanging in there is awesome. And if anybody's watching this later and has not currently subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe, please. And then we also record this live at 10 p.m. Eastern time every Monday night.
Every Monday.
Yep. So I guess let's start off with the Knights. The Codex, man. I think if you played Knights before, then this is better for you because they are better than they were before as far as like Knight for Knight. There's
a lot more tools in your toolbox. There's some things in there that synergize. I know we use that word a lot, but they do. They synergize well with what's been going on in some of the lists and stuff that I'm toying around with and looking at. They're expensive. They're actually a lot more expensive, especially when you start adding some stuff in there. So it doesn't
all the stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you're going to be able to run an all-night army anymore, really. You're going to need to augment the remainder of your points with something else, and I think that's cool.
I don't know, man.
Thematic.
I don't know if that's true or not. I'm thinking that maybe if you wanted to do all 5 of those gallants with just some maybe anti-air weapons on them, you might be able to squeeze it in, to a list.
It's tough, man. I'm not a mathematician, so when I was doing it, I might have carried a 1 in the wrong spot.
Well, what I'm saying, what you're saying is that you're probably not going to be able to build a super effective army out of 5 Knights, and that's probably true. But you could build a fun, right at 1850 Knight build, I think, and be all right.
Oh yeah, this book is exactly that. It is fun. There's a lot of cool things like the hurl mechanic. You cannot ask for a more fun and thematic way to end punching a Land Raider.
It is a shame, though, that you can't hurl gargantuan creatures. Like right now, with all the internet being what it is, who does not want to just wring the neck of a Wraith Knight and throw it across the field at another Wraith Knight or a Wave Serpent?
It's probably light enough to do it. Let's face it, guys. Right?
Yeah. So cool. What were they thinking? I guess I don't know. Who knows?
One of the things too, I know I was talking to you about it online, but that the Melee Knight, think about how awesome this is going to be. Where does Knights thrive at? Where do they do the most damage? It's always in combat. they stomp, they get their D swings and all that stuff. So think about how a 325 point knight who it has more attacks, stomp, you can give it rampage, all these cool little bonuses. Come on, man, that has a place in every list.
I was thinking today he would fit in really well in an Imperial Guard list. Is almost like a counter assault unit. I mean, with all their guns and stuff, and with a lot of tournaments wanting to limit the number of Lords of War that are going to be in your army, which I'm against. I'm against limitations on the way the army's built. I think we are going to accomplish the balance that we want through maybe modifications of a couple charts.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to have point limits be what is the ultimate deciding factor in how many detachments we include in the army, and then intelligent mission design. And that's not a slam on anybody else's missions. That's just how we're going to do it. I think those are the three major things in how because we can't outpace the game and the way they're going to release rules, and swimming upstream like that is going to put us in a constant state of revision to whatever system we create, unless we combat it with, I think, those three things.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I'm concerned about so far as the Knights go is that if we make a bunch of modifications to the D chart or to the stomp table, then we're basically passing judgment on this book as a standalone book. You know what I'm saying?
Well, not the Eldar specifically. Now, D weapons in general, even if we're playing with Forge World, there's things in there, and the stomp chart that remove from play saps so much out of competitiveness. Like, you don't have to be good at the game to roll that 6. And I'm not saying rolling a 6 won't help you if you are good, or enrolling a 6 should help you if you are not as good as the guy that you are playing, but that takes away. I could do everything in my power, just being one guy, to build a list that minimizes that ability for you to luck your way out of a game with me, but that chart entry takes all that away. So we might as well not even play. We could even do the math, like, well, okay, you've got 2 of these things, and so by the 3rd turn, I'm not going to have anything that matters left. So why should we even play?
Yeah,
that's you could do something like that.
I've played probably 12, 13 games with my knight, and I have only rolled a 6 on that D table in close combat, maybe 2 times.
That is you, but we have to go with math. Math is how we need to math is how we need to structure any changes we make, not anecdotal evidence. And while your anecdotal evidence is real, it is simply that. Like, I never make a 3+ save, but we all know the 3+ armor save is good.
Well, I mean, I can fight a unit of Thunderhammer Stormshield Terminators with that knight, and if I never roll a 6, I'm never going to get rid of those guys.
Yeah.
See, I've had the complete opposite luck as you, Chris. I've used the knight a few times, and I've only rolled 6s. So that's that law of averages needs to be taken place to effect. The D table with just a minor change. 6s. Yeah, with a minor change, this D table could be a lot more fun, and to give that interaction between yourself and your opponent. It's not a fun game. Just like Paul just said, like, if I just say take that away, that's not a fun game. I want to roll something and get that thematic 5 save or 6 save or something like that to stay on the table and laugh and joke and forge that narrative, for lack of better words.
No, and I think that that's actually an interesting thing to bring up, because I've looked at the way that the magic phase and the way that attacks work in Warhammer Fantasy, at least the old Warhammer Fantasy. We have the new one that's supposedly coming out soon, where you have your save modified by the strength of the weapon that's attacking you. And it's a little bit more complicated, but if you applied something like that mechanic to D weapons and invulnerable saves, where suddenly if I roll a 6, you reward my 6 by a -2 to your invulnerable save, or something like that. Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated, but it also makes the knight player forge his narrative, or the D weapon guy forge his narrative by saying, I'm getting rewarded for rolling this 6.
I think you're right, and we're not going to solve the problem here. I'm just putting it out there that, in my opinion, and it's just again, but this is not an unfounded opinion, that's how we will scope the tournament and competitive scene in the future. Slight modifications of charts, good missions, and point limits.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to be happy.
Honestly, I think I'm almost to the point where I'd like to see 2K come back. We got away from 2K because of the double catting thing from 6th edition. I'd kind of like to see that come back. I think that there's a lot to be said there. The only downside is it's a slightly larger game, and not everybody is able to play that high point of a game as fast and effectively, and still enjoy it as some players. So that would be something to definitely work for and strive for, hopefully for the future, to see.
You get a point there. Is that the reason that we need to have this organized play system is because at a tournament you don't have all day to kick around and play a game and look in rule books and stuff. You've got to have something that flows really well that you can finish up in a 2.5, 3 hour game to move on to the next round and keep the day progressing and actually have a good time at these conventions if we want to have them that way.
So if we were going to propose a standardized, format across all of the different, like ATC or Adepticon or whatever, how many types, like Type A, Type B, Type C, do you think would be enough to appeal to all kinds of players? Like, say we have Type A that is completely open, so it's basically 1850 points using these missions, and you have this, you have an unlimited detachments, etc., etc. Then you have Type B that's like 3 detachment limit, blah, blah, and it gets more severe from there. How many do you think we would need?
Well, I can almost answer that. It's already in place. There's already different scopes and different levels of parts of the tournaments that you go to at these GTs. You have your friendlies, you have your narratives, you have your championships, you have your team battles. I think that's actually already there, unless I'm misunderstanding what you're saying.
Well, no, I think you're both right. There's enough information out there, and with the way the behaviors that people do, to craft something like that without too much effort. And probably, if I had to guess, you'd want some type of structured team event, you'd want some type of structured singles event, and then you'd want 2 forms of open formats, whether that be what we would consider a friendly, which, I mean, some of the friendlies have been friendly, some of the friendlies have not been friendly. but that's fine. And then more of a an unrestricted play. But we're not going to solve that problem tonight, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. Robert says he's working on his future daughter's room, man. Congratulations on that, and that's going to be your hobby for a long time, man. So yeah, that counts.
Yeah.
Troy, we're still here. Hopefully you can see us. Chicks dig giant robots. Yep. I've known some. That's one of the initial questions if you're speed dating. Like, hey, do you like giant lizards and giant robots? Yes or no?
One of my best first dates was actually going to see Pacific Rim in the theater, which answered both of those questions with a resounding yes.
Nice. Sal, good to see you. I'm glad you made it. William, Chris, yep, everybody checking in, man. Thanks a lot. Kelly, glad you make it. It says, to play devil's advocate, the old D chart was impossible. The new roll of a 6 for removal is much more sound, in my opinion. D exists to remove things to keep the board clear. I don't disagree with that either. It is a mechanic to break up these things that are also unbalanced. But it is arguably more fun to at least roll dice and then roll a defense, and instead of just one guy's rolling dice. Like, one of the things about like Tau players, when we were playing, when they first hit the scene, all this firepower, and this is still how some games with Tau go. It's like the Tau player rolls dice for 2 hours, and I roll dice for 30 minutes. I mean, and so that creates this kind of imbalance. But at the same time, there should be armies that do that. But I at least get to roll dice to defend, and so I don't feel like I'm not doing anything, or the game's over on round 1 or whatever.
Yeah, it's the lack of interaction that I think is causing the most resentment and anger, or whatever, the negative attitude. Let's try to combat it with a positive attitude.
Make something that makes sense that people really enjoy, like making the D chart and the Stomp chart and several other charts and things make sense with just a few modifications for specifically designed for competitive play. Not to change the way you play the game when you're not playing in a tournament, but to make the competitive scene make more sense. Sound missions and a point limit that's reasonable for the time.
One little funny thing about Stomp too. Somebody was asking me, well, how do you feel about Stomp? Like, especially in an instance where it happens at Initiative 1. Say you're fighting Thunderhammers. or Power Fist, and you lose at Initiative 1, but you still get your stomps. They're like, you shouldn't get your stomp. I was like, well, yeah, you should. Think about it. Say those Thunderhammers knocked him over, and he's exploding. He's kicking, he's flailing, he's doing whatever he's doing, man. Forge that narrative, man. You know what I mean? Think about it. Like, if a big Titan falls over,
I don't try to make
somebody's
sense
gonna get
of that
crushed.
kind of stuff. Yeah, it's like he's
Somebody's
kicking and
getting
stomping.
crushed.
He's really it's the stomp. It's more of a dance.
Yeah, I turn on some Celtic music, like River Dance.
Keegan loves the Gallant too. I mean, the Gallant, it's what, 325 points if you put the AA gun on top of it. What is it, 360 or something like that?
Yeah, it depends on what you put on it. It's 325 stock.
Yeah, I'm just talking about just putting the like the AA gun, the Twin Icarus on it. It becomes 360?
Yeah, looking for the.
Yeah, 360.
Here.
Yeah, 360 times 5 is
That's not
only
bad.
1800 points.
Yeah. Oh, you could get an Aegis line in there for fun.
Yeah, there you go. Or or you could back out one Icarus and get some Sky Shields or Void Shield generators. That kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, Void Shield. Eat that out.
So I mean, these are things that I think back to your point, you can make some effective all-night builds.
I wonder how many nights we could fit on a Sky Shield landing pad.
All of them. All of them.
Oh, it's a lot, but it's fun to play with big robots. There's no getting around that.
Yep.
I think
It's just
Yeah, it breaks it, man.
but nothing gets around. Adamantium Lance is still the strongest formation, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the most competitive version still.
I mean, you could take an Adlance and then a couple of Gallants.
Man, that's gonna wreck shop.
You've got some shooting, you've got a bunch of counter assault or assault. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Well, I think that one of the things that adds some strength is how many characters you can put in that can take some of these relics. Because if you have making a knight a character provides some pretty interesting buff options. So if you have a knight character, even if it's one in the formation of 3, and I don't have my book open right here, so correct me if stop me if I'm wrong on any of this. But like say I have my Blood Angels, right? I cast Quickening on a character knight. I can do that. That gives him plus D3 initiative and attacks. How good is that? That will kill Wraith Knights. Like that's a good combo option.
That does sound pretty good.
Yeah.
And you could probably fit that in an Adlance. I think Adlance actually helps makes Knights be competitive. Like some of these other formations are good, but they're not as good as Adamantium Lance.
Now, does Adlance specifically say you have to take the?
It's Paladin or
Paladin.
It's specifically those guys. And a question came up today for a rules question was, does the new Knight book invalidate the formation? And the answer is no.
No.
It does not. The formation is still a legal book, and it doesn't even reference a book for that formation. It just says Paladins and Errants in any order of 3 make this formation. It doesn't reference a single book, a page number, or anything. So there's nothing in there that says anything different.
I feel good about that. And Adlance, honestly, it's what they need. This for some people that want to play this book for the fluff reasons and stuff like that. Like this is their army, this is their new jam. They need something to help them in a competitive environment because not everybody likes to play casually. Some people do like to play that competitive level.
Even when I play casually, I like to play like I'm trying to win and my opponent is trying to win. Now our list may not be completely optimized during those battles, but I at least I want them invested in the game enough to play well.
Yeah, if you're not playing to win, you need a life talk, but. You should always play to win, but you should always try to have as much fun as possible, not only for yourself, but for your opponent.
Hey, Deadstroke says first time he's tuning in for the live show. Man,
Welcome.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on your placement at the tournament. Let us know what you took. That's awesome. Void Wraith Prime is echoing the fact that people don't like not getting saves, not getting some role for defense, and I agree. I completely agree. So, okay, if I can change gears for just a second. We talked to James Swallow on the last podcast. I don't know if you guys listened to that yet, but that dude, straight fan of 40K in general, loves Blood Angels, said he's working on another Garrow piece. I mean, this dude is a huge asset to the 40K community right now. Yeah, and what I hope comes through in the interview is just how much he digs on it. Like, he doesn't play the game. Admittedly, he says he's played before, but he's not really good at the modeling side of it, and that takes away from his gaming. Is kind of what I got. But the dude knew as much about the environment as Chris and I did while we were talking to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like talking to just another 40K geek, Yeah. And that was one of the best parts about it, was that we could sit and talk with this guy, and we probably, like, if we had like an afternoon having lunch together or whatever, we could have just kicked off a conversation and kept it going and going and going, just throwing out all these ideas back and forth. And he's got some real passion for this hobby and for the people that are in taking his work and making it a part of what their hobby experience is.
Yeah, so cool. I mean, there's the contribution of the horse heresy has been amazing, and I cannot wait to read more or listen to more, in the case of the audio stuff from him. So please check out the interview if you haven't already. Follow the dude on Twitter. I mean, it's good times.
Yeah, I unfortunately wasn't able to make it due to work conflict, but I'm hoping that we do get to speak with him again. From what I'm heard and everything, he just such a passionate man about the hobby, like you're saying, about the world that we all love and that what we're playing in. And it's great when you have somebody that's putting out these things and you're able to do, say he created like a successor chapter or something like that, and he gets to watch us as fans bring that to life on the tabletop, and like what kind of enjoyment, like that's got to be like that life accomplishment. Like, I created that and they made it a reality. Like, and he feels that empathy with us, and he wants us to feel that same passion. That's just so awesome.
Gabriel's asking if we think that Araman's going to be in the new Demon Kim book for Tzeentch. I think Tzeentch is probably a ways off, but if we didn't see Karn in the last one. I mean, I think they decidedly wanted to make it a non-World Eaters, and so I think if they continue well on that trend, we'll see a non-Thousand Suns. But we'll know for sure at least what to expect, I think, after we get the Nurgle one, because apparently we're getting Nurgle here pretty soon. Probably after Cult Mechanicus, we'll see some kind of demon to the Nurgle.
I can't wait.
Honestly, I'm not surprised that Nurgle is coming. I am more surprised that Nurgle wasn't first. Maybe they just wanted to sell the core.
The Bloodthirster, man. They wanted to sell the Bloodthirster. They just put that thing. I don't think there's going to be any new Nurgle stuff. I could be wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised if they turned some of that fantasy stuff and put round bases on it and said, use this for...
Oh, yeah, the Blight Kings become something else, and yeah.
To tell you the truth, man, Nurgle has such great models via Forge World, via GW proper. They don't really need anything. Name one Nurgle model that looks bad.
Oh, not a one.
They're all ugly and bloated and...
Yeah, there's not a one. I have never. Let me say, I've never not looked at a Nurgle model and said, "I bet I can make that a Demon Prince, or I could put a bolter on that guy, or something." Every single one, there's been a use for in my mind.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be that guy that just is like, I don't like Nurgle. There's nothing appealing about Nurgle to me.
Well, there's in the world, I've found that there are a lot of people who are right, and there's a lot of people who are wrong.
You sir.
Well, thanks for recognizing how right I am tonight, Paul. It means a lot.
I'm kidding. That's the beauty of this. Like, we get to have talks about, like, I'm a Nurgle fan. You're not a Nurgle fan, and yet we can still get along. Yeah, and Lou's asking if he thinks Typhon, or will Typhon be in the Nurgle book? That's interesting too. Maybe they bring in some kind of cross, but I don't think so. I don't think we'll see Typhus. I don't think we'll see even we're not going to see any Forge World characters in there. Yeah, I think they're going to have those be their own separate thing, and then to not shut them off from being able to put out proper Legion books down the road if they want.
Well, I think that they'll probably do what they did with Karn. They'll come out with a formation that has Araman and a bunch of Thousand Suns with the special buff, or they'll do something with Typhus that you can do, and I think that that people will still take that together.
Yeah.
If you shave 2 points off of the Thousand Suns, the Marine guys, I don't remember what they're called, but if you shave like 2 or 3 points off of those dudes, man, those guys are competitive.
Rubric A? Is that the ones you're talking about?
Yeah, the Rubric Marine guys. I can't think of the name off my head.
They're just Thousand Suns.
Just Thousand Suns, yeah.
If you did, yeah, if they were a little bit more point efficient, they'd be great. I mean, that's kind of one of the bad things about the cult Marines right now is that
Exactly.
they're not point efficient, and to get that fearless and the stuff they make you pay just so many points for them, it's depressing. And and that's why there's a lot of Nurgle players out there. For a while, Nurgles were the only ones to take. And before that, Berserkers were the ones to take. And then anyway, I'd like to see a world where they are all equal point wise, because it's not like they don't have models for all of them. So they should want them to sell equally also. I would think.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder about the equation they use to determine the points value for something, and then I'm sure that they use that equation for like 90% of a codex, and then what they'll do is they'll be like, all right, we made this new one, we want this one to sell, so we're going to multiply that by 70% of what it should be, and put it in the book that way.
Heron's got a good point. He says, like with the Crimson Slaughter stuff, these Marines in the Demonkin book are specifically not part of the Black Crusade. They are not from the original Fallen chapters or whatever. They're their own thing essentially, because there's 10,000 years, and I think what Games Workshop is now trying to make us to his point, really is that not every one of these Chaos Marines is 10,000 years old. Sometimes it is just a dude infused by some chaos power and power armor, and he's not. That's why they have the Nation of No Fear or whatever. Yeah. They don't have a Nation of No Fear.
Well, I know why they don't have that rule anymore is because they said it with chaos, and now they're scared. They're scared that the Blood Angels are going to come and kill them.
That's a proper fear. Like, you remember when Blood Angels used to hate Black Legion, and Abaddon and the Black Legion?
Oh, they still do. Like the Talon of Horus, if you get hatred the first round of combat.
I like that. So anyway, the Demonkin, Kelly, we're gonna see Slaanesh too. I mean, they're not gonna slow down that train of basically printing rules for models I already have, getting us re-inspired about the rules and stuff. But I love new releases. Anything that lets me go back and revisit a model. Like, I think the Hellbrute model looks cool. I don't play with him because he sucks. Like, I would love something in a book that made him playable.
Yeah, there needs to be something redone for him. I think they're getting a little bit better with that formation and stuff that they released with that ebook. But,
yeah, they're trying, but I mean, it's just not there yet. I'm just using that as an example of I would love to see models that look cool get better rules, even if it's later, even if it's the next book or whatever, just to make me think, hey, let me go back and revisit this because I don't play with him only because he sucks on the table. If he was better, I want to play with him.
No, and that could be applied to dreadnoughts too. I don't know what the pricing is on a Hellbrute, but functionally, it's a dreadnought that has additional rules, right?
Yeah, it's like 105 points, 110 points, something like that.
So he's basically the same price as a dreadnought, yet he can do more, but he's still overpriced. And I just think about that.
He needs to be 75 points and have 3 wounds. That's what it is.
Yeah, if the Hellbrute had wounds, it would be amazing. And with that flesh-infused thing, I mean, you could easily make him T6, T7, 3 wounds. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Void Wraith Prom is asking, is like, hey, why don't I think he's asking this, why don't TOs and stuff take a look at tweaking points cost of things?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets so, that's not a battle that you necessarily want to fight because the printed material is something that we all have access to, and what we used to say a lot on the show was that whenever I'm traveling somewhere, the only thing that we have is the text. We don't have our opinions don't necessarily matter as much as we have this hard text we can reference. So we might as well start with this first. But I'm with you. I think that's obviously you can do what you want, whatever. But the way to solve the problem going forward, I think, is the 3 things that I detailed out before. But everyone has an opinion, and I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's just a slippery slope. So I think as a community, as long as everybody stays positive and everybody supports everybody, there are people in the community that their names. They're trying to do things. So support those people, help them, play test their missions, play test their formats, give them positive feedback, let them know if something is wrong in a mission or something doesn't work how you think is the most beneficial. Don't just say, yo, this sucks. Say, hey, we as a group in my area did not like this or did not understand it. We proposed this. Give feedback. Don't just say, oh yeah, that was great, or oh, that was terrible. Give some feedback.
And here's something I like to hear. Deathstroke's coming in and saying he played Eldar tournament this past weekend. They used the people's missions.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that? And he said basically use the number one lesson is always play the mission. Just go for the objectives, no matter, just play it out, get the points you can, and the dude took away some hardware. That's great. Thanks for sharing that with us, man.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. So, okay, Kelly K's coming out. All right, so just got to look at the new Khorne Demonkin in action. Now I got to wonder how cool would it be what other counters resources like the Blood Tithe count with other armies, like the Blood Angels or Imperium summoning reinforcements and stuff. Basically, a mechanic like in the Demonkin book to give yourself buffs, almost like what it was. Epidemus had it before, the whole Talia Nurgle type thing. What if that became a mechanic for other armies? That's neat. I mean, it would need to be like, the Imperial Guard would get some drop ships that airlifted supplies and that kind of stuff in. It wouldn't be demons, but how neat is it to think about that mechanic? And it's not like we haven't seen codexes and books be testers for things down the road. The Dark Angels normally are the ones that do that. They get like, hey, wouldn't it be kind of neat if a Marine got this? And then the Codex Spring comes in. We have that times two.
Yeah, the Dark Angels, man, those poor guys.
So it was cool. I hope they get some love this summer, because I don't know what it's going to take for the Dark Angels.
Hey, well,
maybe it's dark pointies, Watchers in the Dark Tithe. That's what they need.
When I first started, man,
Secrets exposed tithe.
That's right. Yeah, secret tithes. Yeah, it's you get to take maybe other armies get tithes except them, they get to take your tithe points.
But you never show your opponent how many points you've got because it's a secret. So you're writing it down on a little card.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Kelly. That's actually a cool idea. I would not be surprised if we saw that kind of stuff in the future, and I hope it starts with the Dark Angels.
It's a successful mechanic, so I would say, yeah, it'll be mimicked.
Okay, let's think about it, though. It's a ticky-tack thing, though, that people forget.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that, too, man. Like, when you do introduce these things, they could be fun, you know what I mean? Like, this could be like, oh, my God, like, I'm enjoying 40K so much more than I used to. Man, my brain does not think that much. I forget about mysterious objectives, mysterious terrain. There's things that I myself forget about to bookkeep during a game. So the more you add, the more complicated you do get. So it is a slippery slope in that aspect.
Yeah, the level of complication as it scales up with psychic powers, and now granted, if you're playing you probably don't have a ton of psychic powers if you're playing the Demonkin Khorne, but you still got other things to keep track of, and this Blood Tithe is one of them. It's interesting.
I think that it's easier to keep track of something that's happened during the game, something that's interactive, as opposed to something like the old fifth ed Red Thirst rule, where I will tell you, I probably only remember to roll that 30% of the time before the game started. Like, I don't know how many times I had Fearless Marines, but...
oh, you talking about the Blood Rage? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was like, if you roll a 1, then you get...
Yep.
Furious Charge and Fearless.
It'd be like on turn 3, like, oh, I forgot to roll for my entire army.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can I do that now? They're like, no. You can't.
I'm with you. I never forgot to roll for my Death Company, though, back in...
Oh, I know, because that was fun. I was hoping something like that would come back. I really was. And even though I knew that it was moving away from their bookkeeping style that they're doing right now, I really was hoping that we would see a return to a more fun Death Company mechanic. I mean, it's nice that they're scoring now. I don't complain about that. They still butcher stuff when they get up close. But there was something really awesome about having that theme, the Blood Angel theme, come across as part of the game in a little bit less deliberate manner.
That company on the table in 8 years at this point, and that's a problem. I mean, they're so cool. I mean, we all use their figures and their box set for other Blood Angels. Like, I've got so many priests and so many sergeants and stuff made out of Death Company boxes. I bought Death Company boxes. Maybe that's why. Maybe the company thinks that they're selling for Death Company, because 50 people bought the buy. I don't know.
The numbers are misleading.
Yeah, let me tell you, Better Death Company. That's what we need.
I would love to have something like they lost Fleet, and I played a game. The first game I played with that new squad of 10 I painted. I was sending you guys some pictures of it.
Right.
But I played my first game with them, and I failed my first charge, and they ended up getting shot to death. And if I had had Fleet, I would have been able to do something with them, and they would have hurt. Because I was fighting Tau, so they would have hurt.
Their random charge range in this edition has. I've made some 11-inch, 12-inch charges. I have, and they're exciting when they go down. It is freaking depressing when you fail a 5-inch charge.
I failed a 5-inch charge 3 times on Tuesday. Wait, it was Friday. No, I had Terminators, Dante, and the whole bit, and I'm staring at this Exocrine like, I want to eat you. I want to eat you with my
It is a
thunderhammers.
heartbreaker.
And I was just like, ugh.
You need new dice, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's change gears one more time. I played Armada, and I put a couple pictures up there over the course of the weekend, and it's a great game. The game continues to impress me, and it got me thinking is man, wouldn't it be? Why not make a Battlefleet Gothic version of this?
Have you seen the video game footage that they've come out with?
I've seen the video game. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for that. I love fleet-based combat stuff. And I never got to play I have miniatures for Battlefleet Gothic that I painted, but there was no one else that had the minis for me to play with, so I never actually got to play the game.
Yeah, it was fun. They had a lot of tokens and stuff. Now, at the time, I think the community was a little more sensitive to the tokens and keeping up with them and that kind of stuff, and that may be why I didn't catch on as much. But now, with the way Fantasy Flight's been doing everything, and other companies too, these tokens and keeping track of stuff is not that big a deal anymore. There seems to be a better tolerance for it in the gaming market.
Well, Games Workshop's not a dumb company. If you think that, then you kind of need to look at how long they've been in the market and how long they've done really well. By letting Fantasy Flight, a highly successful game company, use their IP for however much money they're going to charge them for it, to recreate these things that Fantasy Flight right now is creating and doing very successfully, it's going to happen. It's got to happen. There's no way it can't happen.
And they're smart to do so. I mean, most companies with this great of an IP, you get good at licensing. And I don't know if they've got a page up with, say, who owns licenses and stuff or not. Some companies do, but I mean, they're going to make a straight bank off of proper licensing, and Fantasy Flight right now is the company to be managing that.
Yeah, they're just juggernauts. They're our era Milton Bradley, if not even more. So.
Well, I mean, speaking of tokens, has anybody played any of their Arkham Horror games or anything like that?
Oh yeah, they're great.
There are tons of tokens involved with that, and you know what? The first time I played it might have been a little bit intimidating, but it was also engaging. I kind of enjoyed it.
I'm gonna tell you, I play X-Wing. I've been given that a lot of play time, and I really enjoy it. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. There's a lot of tokens. There's a lot of upkeep. There's a lot of things, but it's still simple. And so, for me, the average guy with the attention span of a goldfish, if I'm able to handle it, the average gamer should be able to handle it. It's not that demanding.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
right, exactly.
And I'm not even saying they have to have all those tokens. I'm just saying that, if you were to put Imperial ships right in place of the Star Destroyer I've been moving around, I would play the crap out of that game.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan already. I don't know if you get new fans with it, or if it would. But we've seen success of things like Attack Wing and X-Wing. And they exist in the same market.
Well, this is true.
Yep. Oh, yeah, and Heron's saying, or an X-Wing version. that'd be. Anything like that. Moving around those type of ships, getting that 40K kind of visceral feel is right where it's at, and I'd love to see something like that.
You know what game I really wanted to try that I never really was able to before they pulled all the minis out was the Epic 40K. Did you guys play that at all?
Yeah, that was one of my first purchases I ever did was of the Space. It was called Space Marine. It was a box very similar to what would be at the time a 40K starter box, but it had 3 armies, are all Epic stuff.
Okay.
I've always liked that idea of having just the bigger battle. You know what I'm saying? Like you can fit a bunch of the bigger GW miniatures on the table, and especially if you're playing something like Tyranids or Guard or whatever. But being able to put like an entire company of Space Marines on the table every game, how like that always seemed really cool to me. I saw a fully painted like full chapter. It was an Imperial Fist chapter in one of my dad's buddies' basements, and I was just like, whoa. I was probably about 6 or 7 at the time. Didn't even really know.
That's awesome. No.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Gabriel's asking back on the 40K is if we think that the Adeptus Mechanicus should be able to ally with Chaos Space Marines. I really do. Like, there's so much Dark Mechanicus stuff out there. We're not going to get it with this release, but hopefully in future releases we'll get it.
You can ally. Think about it. You just have to stay, 12 inches away. You can always ally.
Okay. You can make, but that's a big point of contention with the scene, the competitive scene too, is allowing come the apocalypse allies or not.
They don't buff each other. They just fill a gap where one army might not have that strength, or they expose that weakness a little too much. Battle Brothers needs to be banned more than come the apocalypse. Let's be real.
Well, probably truth, but I really think that the game is going to spiral out in the fact that all the Imperium is supposed to be a mismatch of things. It is supposed to be 18 different detachments in one 2,000-point army. That's what the design wants it. The design team wants it to be that way. Fighting against that's going to can create some unfun experiences for people.
Well, and if every army in the Imperium had the same toolbox, it would make more sense to split them all up and say, no, you can't play together. But not every army in the Imperium has access to the same stuff. Just take a look at the Dark Angels versus the Blood Angels versus the Space Marines. Like, Dark Angels don't even have grav that they can rely on, and Blood Angels have a little bit of grav, but they don't have anything like Centurions or anything.
Very disappointing that we did not get Centurions.
Or at least some kind of assault equivalent that would have filled that gap as a tough, hard-hitting, maybe super elite squad of 2 or 3 dudes. Like, I really feel like we're missing that kind of punch. And yeah, Death Company can hurt if they can get there, but that toughness 4 sometimes is just not.
They're never going to get there against the stuff you want to use this stuff against. But the question is, do I think they should be able to ally? Yes, I think they should be able to ally this. The Dark Mechanicus is a real thing. There's been how many novels on it where they're a lot big focus on them, whether the main bad guy or whatever. It's very much an established part, and maybe we'll see it in the Horus Heresy from Forge World before we'll see it in 40K. That's probably how I would see it filter down. But we'll see. Speaking of Forge World, though, saw some pics today of the new Ultramarine figures. Now I know most of them are just basically bits to add on to other kits, and maybe it's just the way they had them painted, but they looked amazing.
Yeah. Well, so they're coming because I think there was leaked photos of Rabuti, whatever his name is.
It is. That's pretty much how you say it.
Okay.
Robot Girly Man.
Sorry, you said that right, so I'm shocked, and I lost my train.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to shake it, but yeah, that was.
But so the Ultramarines are coming, which is cool. There's going to be some neat stuff that's coming. The Horus Heresy series, man. When you look at what's going on, you can use that stuff in your 40K world, and you can mix and match some of these pieces and create some awesome looking models.
Oh, the bits are great. Like, even if you ordered just one, if you ordered like a set of 10, you could spread that out amongst 2 or 3 different squads and get a lot of variety in your Marines.
Well, really? I really am excited for when they finally do the Blood Angels Legion, because I will drop so much money to make that happen.
I will be broke, and I will have a bunch of Blood Angels. I had to make a house out of resin.
Yep. Yep. Use all of, like, the spare little tank trap things that comes attached to, and that's how you build the house.
Right.
Sanguinius is going to be the last Primarch just to spite us.
I know.
Ben Hopper said he just tuned in from Scotland, man. Thank you for joining us. It's got to be late over there.
Yeah. Or early, however you want to look
at it. Kelly K saying he doesn't need Centurions, so we need more Sanguinary Guard. The Emperor wants you to play more Sanguinary Guard. I can't argue with that.
No, I think that's good. I have 10 that I'm going to build with the new. I have my 5 from before, but they're showing their age.
They're
So
good looking models, and there's another kit
Yeah.
that I have a bunch of priest and stuff characters built out of sanguinary guard bits. You know,
I've got a bunch of boxes over here waiting.
yeah,
I love them.
they're great. Yeah, if you could, yeah, I think they're great. So Kelly, I don't disagree with you.
You'll see them too, Kelly, because we're going to get our game in eventually, and I am going to show you some sanguinary guard.
Ben brought up another point. He thinks he's going to wear that warlord head as a mask. It looks about right. Yeah, Forge World is knocking it out of the park. Like, they are making amazing things that we are fortunate to be able to. If that's your jam, it's going to be great. I can't say enough of those Ultramarines. It might have just been the way they had them painted. They were, they're perfect blend of blue and gold, and
Oh, they look sharp.
it
Yeah.
made me want, like, and then the decal sheet. Like, I mean, the decal sheet is awesome.
Well, that's the first time I've actually liked the paint job on an Ultramarines figure. I mean, granted, I haven't seen one in person. You always see the GW stock photos and the art and whatever, but that was really cool. Ultra Smurfs, way to look awesome.
I think they had the perfect highlights on their knees. I mean, it was
Good.
it made me interested in what they had. It made me looking at the pictures where I may have just glazed over them before. And I want to point out, I said the decal sheets from Forge World are great. They're really good stock. The transfer paper, the clear piece or whatever, is very durable. You don't have to worry about necessarily ripping them, and it's worth the investment if you use decals.
I believe the quote was, "Don't talk to me until you completed your order with the decal sheets," was a friend of mine gave me.
Nice.
So they are definitely good, and the highest quality decal sheet. They blow the normal GW ones out the water. So if you try the GW ones and you're like, I don't really, this isn't my jam, do yourself a favor, find some Forge World decals, try them out. I promise you they're 20,000 times better. Full color, detail, easy to use. They're amazing. And Duncan Rhodes, the GW All-Star, there's a thing in there. He shows you how to use them properly. You just got to hunt down the video.
That's a good point. Yeah, they're awesome. So I think I've got the Death Guard, I've got the Luna Wolves, and I have the Blood Angels, and I want to say the Imperial Guard.
They have just an Imperial one. Is that the one you're talking about with a bunch of numbers and letters and junk, or is that guard specific?
It's Guard because it's meant to go on the wings of the Valkyries and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know what you're talking
So
about.
I'm putting my money where my mouth is. What I'm saying is that when I'm endorsing these decal sheets, they are that good.
Yeah, they're definitely a step up. I don't normally use them.
I need to try them.
I use them, and I like them. I'm not going to continue to use them, but I do like them, and they are easy to use.
Joe Ash, I'm sorry I didn't see you earlier, man. What's up, man? He said, any thoughts on Dark Eldar? That some people like them for the Webway portals and the Raiders as fast attack transports, but what about them as a standalone force or something more than just the open-topped allies of the Webway portal? Dark Eldar is rough. Going to be rough.
Dark Eldar is the kind of army that you really need to be slick with movement. You need to understand when to strike, where to strike, and do it well. So it's not a beginner's army. That's the best way to probably explain it.
It's tough to win 3 games in a row with them.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I think that there's a lot of strength in some of those homunculus coven formations, especially where you can maximize on some of their toughness 7 models. Now, if you can manage to get that infiltrate warlord trait and move that unit forward, you can create some real pressure from the start. Yeah, they're slow and ponderous, but think of the board control you can have with 7 giant monstrous creatures backed up by a bunch of super fast skimmers coming up behind. I think that there's some strength in that. Not saying that it's the end-all be-all, but if I were to start a Dark Eldar army, that's probably where I would start, is having something that you have to deal with. You can't leave it alone, and eventually it's going to make it to you. And it's only getting tougher as the game goes on.
Their night vision can be useful. They have lots of dark lances, which can be useful, but I stick by my point. It's just very difficult to win 3 games in a row with Dark Eldar. To y'all's point, you've got to get creative with them, and I think you could definitely have Dark Eldar as the primary, but I think to be competitive, you'd want to slip in some allies with them. Like I could see them being the primary force, but I don't see them being building a complete Dark Eldar army and winning a tournament on the regular. Like anything can happen, of course.
Yeah, that's valid. They rely on a lot of random. So yeah.
Well, the power from pain got way better. So that you could build that into your strategy. You could take that.
I agree with that, and I think that there's something to be said about guys that you have your army, you want to play your army as it is, and sometimes it's really hard to take that step and look at allies as a way of expanding into some options that you don't have. So really, I think it's a good discussion to have. What is the best way to play this army by itself? And I've struggled with the idea of bringing in allies to the armies that I've used because I like the ones that I have so much. What I've done to tie it in is I've made my Grey Knights that go with my Blood Angels. I call them the Blood Knights. I changed the paint scheme up a little bit. They still look like Knights, but they have a little bit more of the red in there. It's got kind of a hatched pattern, and thematically they look good together. And it almost doesn't feel like I'm playing a different army. So there are ways that you can still keep that theme that you have going, and you can make some tortured looking Wraith Guard that are basically like flesh construct Wraith Guard that still look like Dark Eldar even though they don't.
That's I see what you're saying, and I agree with you on every point. Especially if you're building a tournament army. I like to see a consistent theme between like the allies and the primary force. Like in our rubric, what we did for the seasonal is that if your bases didn't match, like if I took army here and primary A and ally A, if they had different bases, I lost a point on my painting score, or what my painting score could be. And that's so. I think what you're talking about is making it all come together really well and looking cool. But it's still different than building a complete army out of one faction.
That you brought up the rubric too. We need to try to put that back up on the page too. For some people that are starting new armies, look at that rubric and use that as a template. Because if you follow that rubric the best you can, it's not telling you to do wet blends. All right. What it's doing is saying do the best you can. Here's ideas. And if you try to maximize your points based off of that rubric, you're going to be bringing beautiful armies across the table.
They look good, and you'll score well with them in any tournament, not
exactly.
Just a FTN tournament.
Yeah, and so every time you show up to an event anywhere, people are going to look at your models and they're going to go, "Wow, you really you went that extra mile. You took that extra time. You did these things," and they're going to thank you for it because you're making an experience for them at that point. I love seeing beautiful armies, man. If I can go to Adepticon and not play a single game, but sit there and look at 400 beautiful armies, you know what? That's worth the money for me.
It's worth it. It's actually, yeah. People do that too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that I've been struggling with in my area is not a lot of people have even half-painted armies in the gaming club that I go to on Tuesday nights. Some people have one or two models that are painted, or maybe a squad here and there, but there's a lot of gray plastic. And as I've been trying to get ready for the Gladiator Games, the event that I'm helping run, I've had a little bit of backlash on, oh, really? There's a painting standard? It's like, well, yes, it's 3 colors. It's not that. It's not that hard.
It's normal.
Yeah, it's a commonly accepted thing for the last 20 years. That's what it is.
It's just spray paint your base coat. Do whatever you got to do. Get an airbrush. Do whatever you got to do. Base coat it. Throw a couple colors on there. Make his eyeballs green. Put a little bit of.
Don't paint eyeballs on rank and file troops. They always look psycho.
Well, not eyeballs.
Maybe that's the thing.
Put like a glow on it. There's easy ways to get these 3-color things. You're not going to win the painting score by any means.
Oh, if you got Marines, you should be able to knock it out of the park. It's armor, shoulder trim, bolster basic.
All you got to do is spray paint them the base color that you want, paint the base like a green for grass, and then highlight the metal parts. And 3 colors, you're done.
Sal's asking where you can get the
5
rubric. I'll post it up. It's been a while since we posted it up, but I'll get it up on the Facebook eventually. Thank you for asking.
Keep your eye out. We'll get it out there. Because I'm not the best painter. I'm not the best modeler. I do like to take my time. I'm probably one of the slowest painters I know. But when I bring something to the table, I want to make sure that my opponent knows, look, man, this might not be a golden demon, but you can tell that I put the time into it, and I think that is more well accepted. Don't
what you're doing, you're playing against someone who's invested as much as you are into the game, into the event, and that feels better than playing against someone who just rolled in with some gray dude, straight, not even primed or whatever, just put together figs. That's the hot new army or whatever, that kind of stuff. Which, by the way, I was doing a little modeling over the weekend, putting magnets on flight stands, and it is impossible for me to work with magnets without totally covering my hands in glue. Has anyone figured out how to do that yet? Because I don't know how to do that. I've watched tutorials, and those people look like they have superpowers, and I cannot figure it out.
Yeah. Hey, Ben Hopper's got something here for you, Paul. I know I'm late to the party, but anybody thinking the Skitarii are strong played demons yesterday and destroyed them. I watched a game that Reese did with the Skitarii versus In Control's Nids, and he had the first turn, and if he hadn't had the first turn, it probably would have been a lot more rough for him. But he came in and he just alpha strike the crap out of that army. It was mean. And it was cool, and they kind of tend to evaporate a little bit later in the game if the tougher units can if the tough units can survive the first couple of turns. It gets a little bit harder, but man, like being able to multiply your wounds on 6s and things like that. There's some really hard hitting, subtle mechanics to that army that I'm really excited to see how Cult Mechanic works in tandem with that.
I think you're right. I think that they are a good Alpha Strike army, and if you learn how to do I shouldn't say learn how to do it, if you really precisely use the whatever the directives are that they get, you can just crush people and make it very difficult for them to come back on you, which is really because they don't have a lot of defense, but they do have a fair amount of offense.
Yeah, it's all about timing. When to pop the right doctrine and comboing the USR altering abilities that they have. They have rad.
Yep.
So there are ways to negate your tougher opponents.
Yeah, and Eric's bringing up at one point. Because we don't have a lot of time. I want to touch on this. He's like, hey, he doesn't want to rush his paint jobs. And he doesn't. That's why he thinks that some people might have a problem with some type of standard for events. And I can't disagree with that. My counter to that is, plan appropriately so you have the time to do the job you want to do for the event, because it shows, again, a little bit of kind of good faith with your opponents and that kind of stuff. And I stand by that. Like, I'm not pandering. I feel pretty strongly. It's like, I want to play against hot-looking armies, and I'm going to bring a hot-looking army for you to play against. I want you to bring your best for me to play against. Well, take all the time you need. This could be an army 10 years in the making, and I don't care how it looks like. Come and tell me your story, and I'm going to be like, dude, that's a good army. Thank you.
Yeah, do your 3 colors. Start your whole army with your 3 colors, and then focus. You just use your time differently, and I think you can accomplish the minimum standard.
See, on the other point, though, Justin, is 3 colors, that's an arbitrary thing, right? It doesn't have to look good to be, and have any could have 1 color and look good. It could look awesome.
Do that 1 color really good.
I see your point, though. What you're saying is hey, if you're not the painter and you still want to come and compete on every level at this event, do that, and no one's going to say anything to you. So I think is what you're trying to say.
Fair enough. I'll accept that.
But if you really want to spend 1 billion hours on your army, then do it. Start 1 billion hours before the tournament. That's all I'm saying.
Use was it the Kanban board? I think that's what Carl from the Independent Characters, he preaches that one pretty heavy.
What is that? Yeah.
I tried that. Yeah, it doesn't work as well because I just end up squirrel. The next thing comes that I just want to drop and then work on.
Yeah, like I don't know what I want to play for the ATC. I've just been painting everything within arm's reach over at my table. I don't know what so I have it like it's just there. Like I don't know. I painted a bunch of bikes. I don't know if I need them. I painted some other thing. I painted some Wraith Guard. I don't know if I need them. I'm about to paint a Marine on a bike. I don't know if I need him. With a different config that I normally run. I don't know.
Fortunately, you have 2.5
Your Yeti
months.
looks really well painted.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm like, am I over there at my hobby desk? I should record from over there sometimes. Oh, whatever. Anyway, but anything within arm's reach is getting painted. But I'm taking because, and that event is several months away. It's 2 months at this point, but when I started, it was like 3.5 months away. But I wanted to make sure I had enough stuff to use when it comes down to it.
Yeah, like right here, I've got this rework I'm doing on my Nemesis Dreadnought. You can kind of see the pattern I'm going with. I've got the black and the red and then some of the silver in there to kind of tie it in with the Blood Angels, and I'm really liking how it's turning out. But like when I have a paint job on something else drying, I'll pick this guy up and I'll do like 5 things on him real fast, and I'll set him back down.
Yeah, that's how some pros do it too. Is like while something's drying, they'll move on and get something knocked out. So, Eric, I completely agree with what you're saying. Don't rush your art, and it is a hobby, and we want to burn hours doing it. I think all that we're saying is that for a tournament, there are some standards we should try to adhere to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's 11, boss.
It is. Well,
no,
guys,
it's only 9.
1.
Yeah, for you. It's 11 Eastern. 11 Eastern.
So
thank you all for
young.
joining us tonight. We had a real active Q&A. It was really great to see all the questions and everybody doing the hobby stuff and even the stuff that even was having us in the background. I'm cool with that. Justin, Chris, thank you for getting on the show with me this evening.
Always
looking
a pleasure.
forward to a great week. As we get closer to our next recording, I think we're gonna have another kind of cool guest, a player on the next show, and it's gonna be good times, man.
Well, this is much better than the yard work I was going to be doing. So,
y'all got anything to add before we get out of here?
No. Play on.
Good night, everybody.
no.